Hello, welcome back to Hydroponics Daily, where we bring soilless growing to life, one episode at a time. I'm Dr. Russell Sharp, the inventor of gold leaf, or as it's called in the UK, liquid gold, and today we're talking about tomatoes, the superstar of hydroponic crops. The crop that's probably grown hydroponically more than anything else, and we'll give you some top tips on growing tomatoes. So not a complete deep dive into tomato growing, certainly not one for your experts, but certainly if you're looking to get tomatoes grown hydroponically, or if you want to diversify, start growing some tomatoes, here's some top tips that I recommend to make sure that you grow flawless tomatoes. So you can grow in a NFT system, DWC, but NFT is by far the most common one for growing tomatoes, and you can grow a tomato plant in an NFT system in a commercial greenhouse. It can last for years if you grow it correctly and keep it healthy. And the way they do that is they grow indeterminate tomatoes, so they keep on growing the main stem. They never pinch out the main stem, and then they just lay the tomato down when it reaches the top of the greenhouse. So it grows up and then you lay it down, so that they've got this really long stem along the ground eventually, and after about 11 months, and then they just chop it off and start again, put new rock wool slabs down. So it's fairly sustainable because it's grown for such a long time in that greenhouse. So other than growing them in a massive greenhouse and laying them down, how could you do it? Start off, what are the top tips? Well, the first thing is obviously, like anything, is to choose the right variety. And if you're growing without supplementary heating, then you'll want, or if you want to get a crop fast, that's always a good thing, especially if you're a beginner in the tomato world. So choose a variety that's got a very short window to producing a harvest. So a variety like Sun Gold is a golden cherry tomato, super sweet and ready in 57 days. Some of them can be over 100 days. Other ones, Bush Early Girl, great for compact systems. So if you're growing indoors, that's 50 to 55 days. And then you've got F1 varieties. That's a hydroponic favourite, and that can be 70 days to maturity. So the variety you choose not only affects how fast it is to harvest, but how much space and pruning you'll need. Obviously, you can get determinate ones that grow to a certain height and then stop growing, or indeterminate ones like as described, where they keep on growing. So choose smart, and your future self will thank you. And then modern varieties are also resistant to pest and disease. As I said in a previous episode, I reintroduced two varieties back from almost extinction, the Manx Marvel and the Blaby Special, one in the Isle of Man, one in Leicester. But these would not be resistant to the modern varieties to many of the pest and disease. They're just an heirloom, a heritage variety. My second top tip is pinch out for stronger growth. This is really important. It's what a lot of amateurs forget. You go into a lot of grow shops as well, and they've got these massive tomato plants that are massive bushes, and they go, look at the size of this monster. Isn't that amazing? And you just look at it and go, no, you forgot to pinch out. So your pinch out or suckering is crucial for controlling the growth and boosting fruit yield. You won't get the size of the tomatoes, and you won't get the long trusses that fall from the plant if you don't do this. So especially the indeterminate types produce side shoots between the main stem and the leaf branches, the petioles. So if left unchecked, these suckers drain energy from the fruit production and just produce too many stems. So pinch them out early. Aim for about once or twice a week. So this is something you can do regularly. And it'll help with airflow. For bush varieties, you want to be a bit more conservative with pinching out, but this habit makes sure that you focus on fruiting and not foliage. Don't actually need that many leaves on a tomato plant to get really good harvest. Okay, my next tip is be smart with your defoliation. A lot of hydroponic growers for other crops will be, if they defoliate, they do it all at once. And that's something you definitely don't want to do with tomatoes. Why? Because sudden large-scale leaf removal stresses the plant and it interrupts water uptake, and it can lead to fruit cracking and they split. And obviously that becomes unsightful, and disease, mold can get into the split fruit. So defoliate gradually. I normally do a few leaves every day. So just to make sure the plant isn't too stressed. Remove any diseased or yellowing leaves. Anything that looks like it's not completely healthy, go for those ones first. Remove any leaves that are doubling up. So if you've got like a dense canopy, remove either the bottom or the top ones, because they're just going to be intercepting old light. So you don't want that. And then Any overlapping leaves are just a breeding ground for pests, mildews, molds, spider mites. So yeah, do defoliate, but do it strategically and gradually. The next one is a massive one. Water consistency prevents blossom end rot. You might find your first attempt at growing tomatoes, you get black on the bottom of the tomatoes and you think, oh, I've got some sort of disease. And it's not. That is calcium deficiency. And you might think, right, where's the bottle of CalMag? But it's not normally due to a calcium deficiency. It's due to calcium not getting to the fruit, and that's because you haven't watered consistently. So if you're in NFT, making sure that that nutrient solution is always flowing. If you're in cocoa, making sure that the plants never dry out. Other crops in hydroponics, you might actually want them to be drying out every now and again. This one, definitely not. You will get blossom end rot if the plants don't get consistent water, which means you will also suffer from fungus gnats because you're always keeping that soil, that grow media, moist. Use timers to check on that and keep your EC balanced as well. Because if the EC goes too high, then the plant could struggle to get calcium out of there. So consistency is the cure, making sure everything's consistent. The next one is look out for whiteflies. Whiteflies, not a pest of many hydroponic crops, but they are of tomatoes. Really, they love them. They can withstand the sort of trichomes on the tomato surface, and they are attracted to the smell of the tomato plants. So yellow sticky traps, beneficial insects like the predatory wasp, Encarsia formosa. With a name like that, I think it should have been from Taiwan. Formosa, that normally means Taiwan. And then obviously a bioinsecticide, something like that. So as I say, defoliation will help as well, reduce the canopy size and places where whitefly can hide and lay eggs. Whitefly is a really big problem. You get it, you just get swarms of whitefly in your growing media. Not nice. I think they're related to aphids. If you're growing in a grow tent, you should be able to keep whitefly out just because your inlet filter should keep them out. Another top tip, pollinate by hand. Use an electric toothbrush, a paintbrush. Some people use other vibrating instruments that I'm not going to name on this podcast. But basically, tomatoes are buzz pollinated because they're pollinated by bumblebees in the wild. And so they don't need cross-pollination. They just need a buzz to get the pollen onto the stigmas from the anthers. So go in, I just flick the flowers sometimes as well. Give them a good flick with a finger, give them a rub, and that's all you need to do. Another top tip, use trellising, clips, strings, cages to get the fruit up and away and make sure you've got a good structure to the plant. They're not going to support themselves unlike other hydroponic crops. Grow shops will have all these equipment for you if you need any trellising or clips and things like this. Harvest often. The more you pick, the more the plant will produce. So don't just leave ripe tomatoes on the plant. That will attract pest and disease. They might rot and fall off and things like this. So to harvest them when they're almost on the turn from orange to red, that's a good time. Some people harvest earlier, but I like to go them just when they're just about to go ripe. Make sure your fertigation solution is in the optimum. That's obviously going to be a top tip, as with all hydroponics. Don't mix your crops. Don't be growing basil in the same nutrient solution that you're growing tomatoes. It's just a recipe for disaster, that. And obviously my top tip, as it always is with any hydroponic crop, is inspect your crop daily for pest and disease. Hydroponics is fast paced and things can go wrong quickly. So, look out for pest disease and anything going wrong. Might be a valve is broken, or you get in overflow of water where there shouldn't be and things like this. So just check out that. So that's an introduction to growing tomatoes hydroponically. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you're growing tomatoes this season, I hope these tips have helped and help you get a more productive crop. Probably a bit late to be growing if you're growing outdoors now, but if you're growing indoors, it's any time of year you can start with tomatoes. And the beauty of tomatoes is you don't need to worry about photoperiod. They will flower regardless of the photoperiod. They're autoflowers. But unlike autoflowers, once you've harvested a crop, if you've got an indeterminate variety, you can carry on growing and they'll produce more and more and more and more. And that's a great thing. You don't want to be, traditionally, if you've got an outdoor crop or a cold, unheated greenhouse crop, you spend half the year just feeding it constant amounts of water. And then you get about 10 tomatoes off it. And then your next crop that's about to come off the plant, the frosts come, and so you've only got green tomatoes and you have to make green chutney and things like that. Whereas with hydroponics and indoor growing, you don't have to worry about green chutney and horrible other uses for unripe tomatoes. Don't eat any of the foliage. Any green part of the tomato or the potato, they're all related species, is carcinogenic. It's also teratogenic, which means that it mutates eggs and sperm. So I always have this little thing that I got from a food shop once, and it's a little tomato knife, and it's got 4 pincers, and it cuts off the green bit at the top of a tomato. And I'd advise you always cut off the green bit of the tomato, especially if you don't want to have cancer or if you don't want to have mutated kids. So yeah, green tomatoes, green potatoes, unless they're a specific green variety of tomato, but like the leaf tissue of a tomato can make you seriously ill and contains mutagens, if you didn't know that. So only eat ripe tomatoes, whether they're green, red, orange, striped. Never eat a green potato, and never eat an uncooked potato either. Random stupid facts to end the Hydroponics Daily podcast today. If you found it useful and you know somebody who else is growing tomatoes, please share this episode with them. And if this episode has been shared with you, then you owe the person who shared it with you a pint of the drink of their choice. Could be a pint of whiskey. Could be a pint of water. As long as it's not a pint of pure ethanol, then we're all right. Okay, until tomorrow, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.